All right. You are now rocking with the best, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in to another exciting, exhilarating episode of a new wrestling podcast. I am, of course, your host, Katie Drummond, and I am here with three of the four horsemen. Let's go around the circle. What's happening, Pat?
Welcome back to the greatest wrestling coverage on God's green earth. I am Patrick No C Walker, aka the Kayfabe of And New Wrestling, and thanks for tuning in as always.
And of course, we have the one and only Mr. William Skywalker Steele.
I just got one question.
What's up?
Are you ready? No, I said, are you ready? Let's do it, baby.
Full Triple H. I dig it.
I was so ready to bark, like you caught me off guard with that.
You gotta see.
Keep me on my toes.
Yeah. On your toes.
You just never know what saying or catchphrase I'm coming with.
Speaking of staying on your toes, I hope WWE fans are enjoying what we've had for the last week of action. Obviously, we are now in 2 weeks removed from Bad Blood, which means that we are just 2.5 weeks removed or ahead of the next PLE. And everything that they've done in advance of this next PLE has been to advance the crown jewel. They announced during Bad Blood that there are going to be 2 new championship belts, one for the men, one for the women, where you have the champions of each brand facing off against each other. And their championships won't be on the line, but they will be battling for the new crown jewel belts. And what that has done to the WWE universe has been able to transfer several stars from one brand to another to help promote what's going to be happening next. And we're recording this on Tuesday, so fresh Monday Night Raw just happened, and we got to see Tiffany Stratton in Monday Night Raw. And for me, that was a highlight of the evening because, and again, everybody knows I'm just coming back into this new, so all of these things are kind of new or revisited to me. And so they put Tiffany Stratton on Monday Night Raw, and I think everybody in the universe was like, she's going to cash on Liv Morgan, because that's what they were setting up. She came to help Rhea Ripley. They wrote it into the script that Rhea Ripley and her are going to be against Liv Morgan and Rodriguez, Raquel Rodriguez. So they had a little tag team match, and it was just set up so perfectly for her to be able to cash on Liv Morgan, to the fact that Nia Jax even proclaimed that's what she should be doing beforehand, right? So everybody felt like this was going to be the time, and she had the perfect opportunity. Nia Jax came out and interfered with the match, and she landed the Annihilator on Liv Morgan, and she was out cold in the ring, and Tiffany slow rolled it. And every single person in the universe that was watching Raw had to be like me, screaming at their television, cash in the fucking briefcase. And she didn't. They allowed time for Dom Mysterio to come out, pull Liv Morgan out the ring, and I just thought to myself, I said, self, how great are they? I said, self, how great are they at stringing us along, getting us this emotionally invested in every single opportunity. And it reminded me of something that Pat said. It doesn't matter if we know what's going to happen. They're still making it entertaining. It doesn't matter. They're still making it entertaining. So let me go and kick this over to Steele. I know that Raw was kind of it. They had it tape delayed, and it wasn't a great episode. But how did you feel about how the way that played out?
The part that you left out, what I thought made it so special, was Nia Jax looking over to her like, hello. Here, and Tiff was like, what are you talking about? And Nia Jax goes, cash in the damn money in the bank.
That's a LeBron James.
Yes.
What are you doing?
What's 1 plus 1, Johnny? 3? What's 1 plus 1, Johnny? It's sitting right there. And I thought it was fantastic. Like you said, the how they built it. We knew they were going to do it. It was just how were they going to do it? And Tiffany's like, oh my God, okay. She goes and gets it, gets the briefcase. I'm just glad it wasn't a Mike Chioda moment where, I don't know if you got this again. This was a while ago, KD. But forget the woman who tried to cash it in, and he kept asking, are you sure? She's like, yes. Yeah. Are you sure? Yes. I mean, this went on for like a minute, and they're just going back and forth. So I'm glad they didn't do that. And the next thing you know, Dom comes down, pulls her out, and I'm just like, man, cinema. Just good stuff right there, man. I love it.
No, that's top shelf entertainment, especially when you consider that. And I still fully expect that it'll be Tiffy cashing in on Nia. I still expect that. But the fact that they're adding more breath to this, because if you go back and you look at SmackDown, so Tiffy comes out, to help Nia, right? And then there's still that moment of awkwardness, right? And then on SmackDown, when Nia basically looked her in the face and was like, "You're going to cash in against Liv, right?
Right.
Right?" So then Tiffy's like, "Yeah, of course." And then Nia walks off, and Tiffy gives that stare as she walks off, like, you enough is enough. Like, I'm tired of you fucking with me, right? But then fast forward to Raw. And now here she is with the slow burn. Is she going to cash it in on Liv like Nia told her to? So again, I fully expect that it'll be Nia that she cashes in on. This is some intentional misdirection by Triple H and the content team. And I get that. And it's just a blast to watch. But yeah, I'm still waiting for that moment. And I think that moment comes. Maybe it comes at Survivor Series. I don't know if it comes at Saudi Arabia. But then maybe again, because they're really, really catering to Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
So I think that outside of the two belts that they've introduced for Crown Jewel, those championships, I think that they're going to need a massive plot twist to kind of satisfy that arena. And I think this might be the one. So maybe it doesn't wait until Survivor Series. Maybe she does cash in at Crown Jewel.
And so that was the main thing that happened on Raw last night. But another thing was the furthering of the bloodline. Again, we're having this interaction between one side and the other, one brand and the other. And what we got to see was after Jey Uso came out to the defense of Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. Obviously, Braun Breaker was breaking a foot off in both of their asses, and they came out to save them. And then he's walking through the arena, and he happens to go into Adam Pearce's office, and sitting on the couch is his brother. And it was just so perfect. And Jimmy says to him, I don't even remember what he says, and Jay just, nah, man, fuck.
Nah, no words. No words. Nothing to talk about.
You got a second? And he turned right around like, come on, man.
Exactly.
Like, bro, like, get out of here. We ain't good.
Obviously, it's not something based on everything that we know how it went down. It's not something that can happen right away. They obviously have to lead to this. And I don't know whether or not they will finish that in time for Survivor Series, but I don't think that we're going to have any of this. Maybe it will play a part in the next PLE, which is, again, the Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. So with the Crown Jewel coming, and I know how we all felt coming out of Bad Blood, that there were two bookend matches, and the main thing in the middle was the announcement of Crown Jewel. The rest of the PLE was pretty mid when it came to the match. Bad execution left and right, and it just kind of left a bad taste in your mouth. So I wanted to turn the discussion to, okay, what are the PLEs that we really liked so far this year? And I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think are the top 3 PLEs that we've had so far in 2024? So this goes all the way back to the Rumble, and then fast forward to where we are now. Since we've been through Bad Blood, we have a couple left. We have Crown Jewel left, we have Survivor Series left, and we have Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, right? So those are the 3 remaining PLEs for the calendar year. Without those, what are the other 9? How do you rank the top 3? What are your best takeaways from those?
I'll jump off here real quick, Will. I'm going to make mine real quick because I'm going to shock the world with mine. First of all, one of my top 3 PLEs is neither from the SmackDown nor the Raw brand. It is from NXT. And for me, it is NXT. It is NXT Heat Wave. Yes. NXT Heat Wave was unbelievable. It absolutely tops several of the PLEs from the red and the blue brand. And I'm standing on business when it comes to that. So Shawn Michaels continues to cook more and more, and to the point where if you're looking at, especially as the shows are on USA and they're starting these transitions, and then now CW with NXT, there's a lot of cross-pollination there now, right? So whether it be CM Punk on NXT, whether it be, Lash Legend on SmackDown, challenging Bianca and Jade for, the tag team titles and things like that, there's a lot of cross-pollination, and that's because NXT has now arguably gotten to the level where, granted, they're not the main show. There still needs to be a draft, and you'll still see guys like Oba, which we stand for here at A&W, get called up. But at the same time, NXT has gotten to a point where it's one of the major promotions in professional wrestling, and I love it. And whether you're looking at NXT Battleground, which was in the running for me in this top 3, but Heat Wave edges out Battleground, so that's my number 3 is NXT Heat Wave. Number 2, I'm going to go with something a lot of people probably forgot about. For me, it's Elimination Chamber. I think Elimination Chamber went crazy, especially when you start talking about the plot twist between LA Knight, because that's really when the LA Knight versus Logan Paul thing kind of got going as far as that rivalry this year. Randy Orton, how close he was to really getting his hands on that, and then it all kind of went awry in that same match. It was Randy being one of the last two in there, and then Logan Paul does what he does. But and then when you look at Nia Jax's matches since then have been mid. But so that means Nia Jax's best match of her career, not just this year, but of her career, was versus Rhea Ripley at Elimination Chamber. So those and just the whole match card itself. So that's me. Elimination Chamber is my number 2. And if I say anything other than WrestleMania 40 as number 1, commit me and put me on some fucking medication. Right. WrestleMania 40 did some shit to me emotionally that hadn't been done in a very long time. WrestleMania always gets me up, right? So there's that. But the fashion in which this went down, the months long storyline, the pivot, that started from Royal Rumble and Cody wins Royal Rumble, and then in the actual kayfabe was what it was supposed to be. Cody goes on SmackDown and he defers to The Rock because The Rock is the great one, et cetera, and then all this fan backlash. And then, which way is this going to go? Is Triple H going to listen to the fans and rewrite the entirety of the storyline, plural, for WrestleMania? Or is he going to say, man, fuck the fans, because you're going to buy the tickets and you're going to show up any fucking way, which would have been completely accurate. But instead, much unlike the Vince McMahon era, Triple H scraps everything with the assistance and the advisement of The Rock and Cody and Roman, and they all come together and they turn that whole, how difficult it is to turn a planet? They turned a planet on demand and put everything on a brand new course that then leads us to exactly where we are now in everybody's storylines. So WrestleMania not only had an impact on 2024, but the shockwaves from that are continually felt right now and will be felt, I think, over the next 5 WrestleManias. So yeah, for me, NXT Heat Wave number 3, Elimination Chamber number 2, WrestleMania 40 is number 1.
WrestleMania 40 sounds like basically what you're saying. It's the Winter Soldier of the Marvel universe. Like Winter Soldier set up MCU for the rest of the way, and it seems like WrestleMania has done that. I can't say it any better than you said it with WrestleMania is number 1. It has to be number 1. Just how that played. The last, I see it on Twitter all the time. That last 5 to 10 minutes of that match may have been the greatest 5 to 10 minutes in wrestling history. And you can say I'm a prisoner in the moment. That's fine. I'll be a prisoner. Lock me up. Throw away the key. I wasn't around when Hogan won his title for the first time. I wasn't there for when he slammed Andre the Giant. Really, he already did it before. But for the quote unquote first time, I wasn't around when that happened. Right? I understand the history of it, and I respect the history. But what that did was tie so much greatness into one at the end of that match there. And then it also tied in history, right? With Cody Rhodes winning that title, something that his father wasn't able to do, or he falsely did. He raised the title, took the picture, and they said, nah, you can't have that. You didn't win it legitimately. So it was just, talk about cinema. I don't know if you ever top that. And that's why, to me, that might have been the end game, or should I say Infinity Wars?
Infinity War. Here's Infinity War.
Infinity Wars, because it's one of the two. You can't really top it. It's never going to be topped. So that's number 1. Let me see. Number 2, I enjoy Backlash a whole lot. Backlash in France and Lyon with the crowd. I'm huge on the crowd.
That crowd.
I'm huge with crowd. The what is it? European crowds or what have you.
Yeah.
It was amazing. The Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles, they were so into that thing. I think it delivered. That to me was his best title defense to date so far. Obviously,
I agree.
Go against Solo, but
I don't know.
And those other guys, it's not like you got a choice. But I just think that thing was great. We saw the debut of the 3rd member or 4th member of the Bloodline with Tonga Loa coming in that tag team match. Which we kind of expected some interference, but the street fight I thought was cool. I just really liked it. I liked it a whole lot. I thought that to me reminded me of when they went to Puerto Rico last year in Bad Bunny. Like if that happened to be this year, that would have been to me a top 5 type of PLE. Number 3, I definitely went back and forth with your Elimination Chamber, because I thought about that too. Like the actual chamber matches
Yeah.
dope. The chamber matches were dope. It's really hard to argue against that. But I thought Bash in Berlin was cool too. We just did it too. Could be a prisoner of the moment. I like the Cody and Kevin Owens. The whole should I beat him up with his knee down and turn heel or not turn heel. Didn't like the Rhea Ripley, Dominic Mysterio versus Damian Priest, or what was it? Damian Priest versus who was it in that match? I'm sorry, y'all.
Finn Balor.
It was it was a mixed tag. So it was
the mixed
Dom
tag.
and Liv versus Priest and mixed tag. I didn't really like that much, but maybe I'm leaning more towards the Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, and then of course we had Randy Orton versus Gunther. I thought those two went ham. So those would be my three. I don't think there was, outside of WrestleMania, I don't think there has been that signature one just yet. Unfortunately, SummerSlam did not come through as the way we wanted it to come through.
Now, the closest one as far as main events, and when I say the closest, it's really not even in the same solar system. Honorable mention, the Clash at the Castle. Honorable mention.
Another, European crowd that got
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Clash at the Castle was another one. Money in the Bank, that's an honorable mention. But Money in the Bank, to me, was outdone by Heatwave. So.
Yeah, so that's actually what I was going to bring up is that weekend that we had, right? The Heat Wave and Money in the Bank back to back.
Mm-hmm.
It was Heat Wave and Money in the Bank.
Yeah, it was.
That was for me the reintroduction of me to big event wrestling that weekend, because I wasn't around for WrestleMania. Now I went back and I watched WrestleMania to learn myself some things about where WWE was, and that match at the end where everything broke. It was just one thing after another when the Usos came out and then they fell off the platform, and then The Rock was there, and then The Undertaker was there, and it was Seth Rollins, and it was just,
and don't forget John Cena. And
John Cena, exactly. I mean,
and Kevin Owens.
I had never seen that much of a crescendo like from back in the day, because again, I'm old school, so even when we had like Great American Bash and Starrcade and all those sorts of things in the NWA and WCW days, I wasn't a WWE fan back there, so I wasn't watching WrestleMania, and I didn't see all of those things because it just didn't interest me. Like, I was just more about the wrestling than I was about the storyline. So coming from just the pure wrestling background, all of that elevation of the storyline, like, I was brand new to that shit, and the way that they pulled it off in WrestleMania 41, dude, I was like, okay, I can actually get back into this. I get it. I get why my timeline on Twitter is filled with all of these wrestling fans when all of this shit is going down.
It was
like, I mean,
crazy.
it just
bro,
it
even non-wrestling fans started tapping in.
Yeah,
because I remember, because I was live tweeting, I remember a lot of people were like, damn, man, I gotta watch this now because of how excited No C is. And then they started tweeting about it. Then they started tweeting about it. Yeah, then they started tweeting about it. I'm like, come on in, man. Come on, everybody. Come on in.
I think it drawed a lot of people back into wrestling.
Yeah.
Like
100%. Listen, it's what The Rock said. Rock said he made wrestling cool again. He ain't lying.
I can't even argue with that. But for me, the one that will always have a place in my heart is going to be Money in the Bank, because I had, like, again, I grew up watching wrestling 5 nights a week, right? So it would be NWA, WCW, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday was dedicated to Powerful Women of Wrestling and Glow. So I always had a warm spot in my heart for women's wrestling. To see women's wrestling the way it was performed at Money in the Bank with that ladder match, compared to what I had seen before, right? I mean, because even back in the day, it was interesting, but you still weren't seeing the level of athleticism in the women's wrestlers of today. So I missed all of the Charlotte Flair, Naomi, and all of the superstars of the last 10 to 15 years. Like, I didn't see any of that. So to get brought back in to see women's wrestling at that level with the ladder matches, and I mean, the ladder matches were insane. I literally saw some of them chicks broke their backs on the ladder. I forgot who got planted on the side of the ladder, but that was just shocking to me to see that level of athleticism. And
was that EO
going through? Was it EO or was it what's
I feel like it was one of Damage Control.
Who's in PFC?
DeVille, Zoe. Oh, it was Zoe. Yeah. It was Zoe. It was Zoe. Yeah, it was Zoe.
Oh,
I mean, I remember.
So that one will always rank up there with me, even if other people feel like that was just a seminal PLE. For me, that was like, man, they're really doing it out here. So again, warm place in my heart, but absolutely, I see why everybody will name WrestleMania, because again, as you said, it'll absolutely be something that people talk about for years and years. I don't know how they're going to top that this year, but I'm excited to figure out how it's going to happen.
Let me say
the question
this.
is,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I kind of disrespected SummerSlam a little bit. The return of Roman Reigns definitely helps a whole lot with SummerSlam, right? And then Logan Paul beating or not Logan Paul, LA Knight beating Logan Paul for the United States Championship, plus Gunther and Damian Priest. I thought they did so that was actually a really good one too. But
SummerSlam was good, but for me, not top three because outside of the return of Roman Reigns, Roman carried. Roman and his aura, he carried.
I'm a big LA Knight fan, so that was a big
one. And same. you know, right? Yeah. But that being said, for as long as we've been waiting for LA to get that gold, and he finally got the gold, that's what was satisfying about that. As far as him taking the win, we knew that was going to happen, if only because of the outside of the ring situation that had occurred from Logan Paul 7 to 10 days prior with his tweet. Right. So they at that point, it's like, okay, we were 50-50 on, okay, are they going to let Logan drop the belt to LA? We hope they will. But then we saw what was going on with Logan outside of the ring. And we were like, okay, now it's a foregone conclusion. Question, because now they're cleansing, like they're trying to wash him out of the roster, at least off of TV for a very long time. But because that was kind of taken, that aspect of guesswork was taken away from it, it kind of took away from the match. But the match itself was a banger. From both aspects. So as much as I dislike Logan Paul, he knew he was about to be washed out of the picture for a while. He still put up the show. LA Knight, of course, put up the show, and then it was the emotion of him getting the belt. But yeah, SummerSlam was solid. It absolutely was not a bad PLE. It was, all things considered, it was better than Bad Blood, because Bad Blood has one legendary match to open. It has a very good match to end. But the end of the very good match was kind of a classic pop and how it elevated with Jimmy. And then, so it's the last 5 to 10 minutes of the match. Right. Exactly. So you have a unbelievable ending, but it was just a great match. And you have a classic opening. And then the 3 matches in the middle were mid. So you can't have 3 mid matches out of a 5-match card evening and then, be anywhere near the top 5 is what I'm saying. Or top 3.
So we only have a few minutes left. I want to get your take really quickly, because
you didn't give us your number. You didn't give us your number 3. Did you? You said WrestleMania was 1.
WrestleMania is 1. Money in the Bank and Heatwave that weekend. So
okay. So you were Heatwave. That's why you got excited, because
absolutely. Because I'm all for every single.
We know why.
We know why.
Because NXT, when we're recording, NXT is about to start come on TV. You guys got about an hour, 15 minutes of my attention. That's about it.
We know why. Hey, Miss Parker.
Hey, listen, man.
Hey, Miss Parker.
I need them
when
to
you
go ahead and
when you gonna let me pin you, Miss Parker?
So we need to talk about these elevations that have to come, right? Like, can we get all of them brought up? Can we get Jada and Oba? Because Oba lost to Tony D'Angelo, so they can elevate him, right? Like,
correct.
That's the only thing that makes
sense. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Because
the same thing happened with like Lyra Valkyria, and if and it's going to happen to Roxanne Perez as well.
I'm not. I know they're building towards that, because that was a whole CM Punk and Randy Orton thing.
I just don't know who she drops it to, though, because does she drop it to Julia or does she drop it to Stephanie?
I don't know.
That's
Stephanie
the question.
makes her debut tonight. Stephanie makes her debut tonight.
Right,
so
but then if
you
see
if they're building for that,
right? Looking at last week's NXT, there was this. I'm not going to say weird, but it was unexpected to see Stephanie Valkyria and Julia both. So they both chase off Roxanne Perez, but then they're both kind of holding the belt and looking at her. Right. And my question after that imagery was, wait, you can't share the belt. So
one of them wins it, and that creates a rivalry for the other one, and then that's going to be the headline rivalry or whatever.
Oh, I'm here for really Stephanie. Quick. I am here for Stephanie.
I know you are. I know you are. Real quick, the Gunther and Cody Rhodes mic promo, in-ring mic promo on Raw last night, I felt was botched. It was really weird. They were talking to each other, then all of a sudden Cody drops a mic and the crowd noise gets loud. It was like a horrible production of, I think it was a tape delayed in-ring promo, and it didn't fit with everything else. I don't know if anybody else paid attention to that, but it just I don't know. It just made me worrisome about what we're about to see with the crown jewel when they get in the ring. It just felt awkward to me, and I was just wondering if either of you felt that way when you watched it.
I think it's an awkward match in general, but they have to do it because they have to go to Saudi. So it's not going to feel natural. It's not going to feel organic. They're trying to get a build to something that at the end of the day has no significance. So it's a bit tough. It's for the Saudi Arabia fans, right? In general, though, and this is something that I would love for you guys to take a look at as we move forward because they're figuring it out. But mixed reaction so far from fans about the 2 hours. They feel like things are being rushed. They're putting back-to-back promo packages together to try to get all the the top guys and gals on Raw there. It feels, again, not smooth, but it's like, hey, we asked for 2 hours. Let them figure this out. Is how I look at it.
Okay, so don't let WWE Universe listen closely. Look me in my eyes. Look me in my eyes. Don't let WWE gaslight you, okay, into thinking that the 2 hours is not as good as the 3 hours, okay? Because if they produce the 2 hours the same way they produce SmackDown, the same way they produce NXT, with that same level of effort, with that same level of effectiveness and efficiency, then there won't be these production issues as they cut down from 3 hours to 2 hours on Raw. But when I say don't let them gaslight you, don't start thinking, oh, well, if this is what it's going to look like, then just take it back to 3 hours.
Right.
They're going to be like, aha, gotcha. Because we wanted to take it back to 3 hours anyway, but we're only going to do it because, hey, you said you want 3 hours. We're just giving you what you asked for. Right. No, fuck that.
We do know, though, that once USA loses Raw to Netflix hasn't committed to 2 or 3 hours. They say it's going to be fluid, and USA has already committed that they're going to make SmackDown 3 hours once they do that. So it doesn't matter what any of us think about it. They already have their plan laid out.
That's fair. But so just outside of the gaslighting, which I feel is kind of obvious, the onus is on WWE to get this production right. I mean, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. There's no excuse for you knowing ahead of time that you were going to trim this 3 hour program to 2 hours. And keep in mind, those of us that have followed this, we know, because there are times where we can't watch it in real time and we'll have to go back and watch it on DVR, and we fast forward through all the commercials and everything. And if you fast forward through all the commercials of a 3 hours Raw episode, then basically you're at 2 1/4 anyway. You're at 2 1/4. And then if you fast forward through one of the filler matches, one of the setup matches, then now you're at 2 hours. So you can do it if you trim down on sponsorships and things like that. And it doesn't have to be, and I get it, sponsors pay the bills too, so respect, but everything within balance. And it doesn't have to be a situation like it was the first 2 hour episode where you got Seth Rollins being interrupted by Jimmy, who's interrupting it. Right. And it doesn't got to be weird like that. Just plan it out better is what I'm saying.
No, I love that, Pat, because you're right. I mean, if NXT can do it, if SmackDown can do it,
then Raw can do it. I'm not going to let you gaslight me, Paul. I'm not going to let you do it.
Well, I don't know if it's Paul versus just the fans just whining and complaining about it, but I feel like they'll get it together. This is something they haven't done in 12, 13
blame the head coach.
Wrestling fans will find something to complain about. I mean, we are...
But we love it. But in the same breath, we will say that we love it. Keep it all coming. But
that's what makes the product better. Like if
they listen complaining,
they absolutely listen. That's
what I'm saying. So we just wanted to be perfect.
WWE Universe, I didn't mean to say whine, but complain.
When WWE fans complain, WWE is listening. We've even seen that as far as how we talk to the league office whenever we're asking questions as a venture in covering their organization. They listen. They are hearing what people are saying. You can't say that about any of the other professional sports.
No, you can't.
You're not listening to the fans.
No, you can't.
So these complaints are not falling on deaf ears. So that's why everybody feels like they can have an opinion, because it actually is heard once they voice it. So
except maybe the NBA. I think Adam Silver listens to fans. I'll give him that. But the others, Manfred, fuck no. Goodell, fuck no.
That's why we lost baggy shorts,
Well, no, that wasn't. Yeah, The back, no, maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
do we want to
they
blame Silver
they've
for
listened
that?
some wrong ways with the dress.
We want to
codes
blame
and all
Silver
those
for
sorts
that?
of things.
No,
I guess that's
Stern.
that's
That was
Stern
the-
did.
that was
Yeah,
Stern.
Stern did the
Yeah.
dress code because of AI.
Because AI.
Because,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
because
Right,
AI.
right,
So,
right.
but we're not going to talk ill of the dead. Rest well, David Stern. We're going to leave it at
Fair
that.
enough.
Yeah.
Fair
We'll
enough.
leave it at that.
All right, we're out of here. We're going to be back next week with a little bit more action for you guys. Make sure that you are smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss any of this high-level conversation that we're having about the things that you love. Make sure you hit notifications so that you don't miss any of these episodes. And of course, follow us on all social media and New Wrestling Pod on Instagram, but everything else, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and New Wrestling. Make sure that you're following us on all of those avenues, and we will be back next week with more content. Salute.
Yeah. And